Good morning, everyone. Hope you're all having a wonderful day today. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Sig MSR 1-6. Now, this might be one of the most popular budget LPVOs on the market, and for a good reason. In fact, through no fault of my own, I happen to have two of them in at the exact same time on two different customers' bills. And I've had a few more of these come through as well. I've used, I think, no less than 4 of them. I actually filmed a review a long time ago on the Gun.Deals channel as well, but a lot of you guys did not see that video, so I still get a lot of questions about what I think about the Sig MSR 1-6 and whether or not I think it's worth the money. So when this one here came through, which is currently sitting in a ADM mount or something like that, it's a very nice mount, and this is on a Criterion 13.9, I asked the kind gentleman that I was doing this build for if I could do a review on the optics, and so I could finally get into some of those questions that you guys have had. Now, full disclosure, I have no relationship with Sig whatsoever. This is on a customer's build that he paid me to assemble this very nice upper receiver, do a pin and weld on it as well, so I have no relationship with Sig, no money changing hands, no ammunition, nothing like that, but keep in mind that this isn't my optic, so I didn't do drop testing on it. So let's go ahead and start out with some basics on the Sig Tango MSR 1-6, and the most important basic is that it's cheap. You can usually find this for about $300, including a mount. And importantly, the mount that is included is not half bad. So for 300 bucks, you're getting an LPVO and a mount, and you're good to go. Now, fortunately, the rest of the basics on the MSR 1-6 are also pretty good. Starting off with size and weight, we have an optic that is about 10.5 inches long, coming in at a weight of 18.5 ounces, which is not the lightest LPVO, but it is definitely on the lighter end of things. This is of course based off of a 30mm main tube, 24mm objective, magnification of 1-6 with a 180-degree throw on the magnification ring. We have capped windage and elevation that are in half MOA increments, and we have 11 brightness settings with a offsetting as well. And at the back we have our diopter for adjusting the reticle to your eyes, because everybody's eyes are a little bit different. Now, on the magnification ring itself, it does come with a included throw lever, which is quite nice. It also has a fiber optic insert as a little bit of a visual aid to see exactly what magnification range you're at. As far as the throw goes, it's pretty smooth and it's pretty light, and with the addition of the throw lever means you can very quickly, very easily throw it from 1-6, and again, it is a 180-degree throw. Now, getting into the usability aspects of the scope, that is going to be the eye relief, eye box, field of view, reticle, and of course the glass quality. Starting off with eye relief, at 1x, like most LPVOs, you have a very wide range where your eye can actually be. Somewhere between 3 and 6-7 inches is going to give you a mostly usable sight picture. Now, as you go up the magnification range, that is going to tighten up quite a bit, and at the maximum magnification of 6, you get an eye relief somewhere between 3.5 and 4 inches, which is pretty good. Now, in terms of our eye box, that is of course our left, right, up, and down. At 1x, it's very forgiving. It is very easy to shoot around obstacles from odd positions, very easy to get a usable sight picture. And of course, as you increase the magnification, that does become a little bit tighter. Now, even at 6x, the eye box is certainly what I would consider to be usable, even in a non-ideal position. It's not the best eye box out there, but it's certainly not bad, and again, definitely usable. Now, field of view, this is one of the best aspects of the MSR 1-6. At 1x, at 100 yards, we have a rated field of view of 124.8 feet, and that's probably in the top 10, if not the top 5 best out of any LPVO that I've used, which puts it among some very, very high-end competition. Now, at 1x, it's nice, but it's most important as you move up the magnification range, meaning that at 3, 4, 5, 6x, you get much more information. Now, moving on to the reticle, this is the BDC6 reticle, which is of course a ballistic drop compensation reticle for, I believe, 16-inch 5.56, 16-inch 308, and that is of course going to vary between barrel to barrel and round to round as to what actual drops you're going to get at distance, so you are going to personally have to true that out with your specific gun and your specific ammunition. Now, if the reticle is set up properly with your gun and ammunition of choice, it should get you all the way out to 800 yards. Now, it also has wind holds for 5 and 10 mile an hour full value winds, which is very helpful, especially with 5.56 at those extended distances. In the center, we have a very nice, precise floating dot that you can use to be precise if you need to do so, and you also have a 2/3 outer horseshoe, like a lot of other optics that we're seeing, to kind of give you a more fast acquisition option if you just want to put something on a target and pull the trigger. Up close, that's going to work very well and does allow you to find the reticle a little bit quicker. That is also the part of the reticle that illuminates, and on setting 11, it is daylight tinted, not really what I would consider to be daylight bright, but it is usable and in certain circumstances will provide that contrast that you need. Now, to the left and right of that horseshoe, you also have your mover holds, and those I believe correspond to 8-mile-an-hour targets at different distances, though that's a little bit above my pay grade. Now, as far as the reticle goes, up close, I think it does a really good job. There's definitely enough there in the center to really draw your eye in and allow you to pick it up quickly and put it exactly where you want it. At distance, in theory, it's also set up pretty well, though we'll talk about the drawbacks there in just a second. In terms of the glass quality, there are two parts that we need to talk about. The first one is the way the image looks in terms of its flatness and edge-to-edge distortion, and the second is the actual glass quality. This is a cheap optic made in China with cheap Chinese glass. Fortunately, the 1X does look relatively flat and is relatively distortion-free, meaning that it is very usable. As you increase in magnification out to 6x magnification, which is of course our top end, you do suffer from some optical degradation, meaning that at 1x the optic looks bright and clear, targets are very easy to pick up, so on and so forth. However, at 6x, the glass does get a little bit blurry, and a little bit of distortion up close doesn't matter all that much, as targets are obviously much larger, much easier to pick out, so on and so forth. However, where that really starts to hurt the optic is when you get out to distance. So say 3, 4, 5, 600 yards, where now you're supposed to be using the BDC portion of the reticle, the targets can become a little bit blurry. So I personally took the Criterion 13.9 with the MSR 1:6 out to about 450 yards, and the targets were getting a little bit hazy. Now, it was certainly easy to do, and keep in mind that I'm using high contrast targets that are painted white against a fairly green and brown background, so fairly high contrast. However, if I was using the optic to search for a target, and the target was a low contrast or a much smaller target, it's going to be a little bit harder to pick out, and that is going to be the main drawback of cheap LPVOs in general, is that as you increase in magnification where you want that positive identification, the glass quality can definitely hold you back. Now, unfortunately for the MSR, I took it out on the same day that I was using the Vector Continental 1:10, which is a German glass optic, considerably more expensive as well. And that optic not only has, of course, additional magnification, having a 10x top end, but is also much clearer as well, giving you a ton more detail. Now, does that mean that the MSR 1:6 is bad or unusable? No, it just means that it's going to be a little bit less usable, and keep in mind that if you're going to be shooting at low contrast targets or smaller targets at distance, you're going to have a little bit of a harder time just due to that reduced glass quality. And now that's in mostly ideal circumstances, in low light environments or high contrast environments. If you're looking into a dark spot or you have direct sunlight, that glass quality is going to be very noticeable in terms of the optical degradation at higher magnifications. So when it comes to performance and actually using the thing inside of 100 yards, I think it's pretty great. I have almost no complaints whatsoever. Size and weight is good, reticle is good up close, field of view is massive, you have a decent reticle, mediocre illumination. Now keep in mind that this is using the Primary Arms Auto Live battery cap, which doesn't really work, at least on the Sig MSR 1:6, even though Primary Arms advertises it right underneath the Sig MSR on their website. However, that annoying issue inside of 100 yards, I have very little to complain about. The main complaint would be is that when you want to stretch out to distance and use that extra magnification that you have with an LPPO versus like a red dot magnifier to get that extra positive identification, that's where the Sig MSR starts to fall back a little bit. Now, inside of 300 yards, it's still very, very usable, but again, at extended ranges is really where the MSR 1:6 is going to start to fall off, because even though you have 6x magnification, it's not all that usable. So even something like the Steiner P4XI, while it only has 4x magnification, because of the massive increase in glass quality,
you probably get better information off of the P4Xi at 4x than you do with the MSR at 6x. Now, bringing it back to my original point, the best thing about the Sig MSR 1-6 is that it's cheap and it is mostly usable. Again, up close inside of 100 yards, very good. Out to extended ranges, it's gonna perform all right. Now, my somewhat controversial opinion is I really don't like using red dots and magnifiers, especially out to say 300, 400, 500 yards. They're basically useless. So while I might complain about the murky glass quality of the MSR 1-6 at say 500 or 600 yards, it's still going to be leagues ahead almost any red dot and magnifier combo, and certainly cheaper as well. For instance, if I were to take my Sig Romeo 8T and name your favorite magnifier of choice, probably around $1,000 combo. If I'm shooting beyond 300 yards, there's absolutely no competition. I would rather have the Sig MSR 1-6 over any red dot and magnifier combo.
So that's about all that I got on the Sig MSR 1-6. Is it a perfect LPVO? No. Is it the best LPVO on the market? Absolutely not. Is it the best that you can get for $300 with a mount? Probably. Now, I do want to be very clear. There is no reason to side grade to this LPVO if you already own one. If you own any of the Primary Arms SLX line, you're fine, stick with them. If you own a Burris RT6, a Vortex Strike Eagle, a Swamp Fox Arrowhead, there's really no reason to side grade to this optic. However, if you're looking at getting your first LPVO or getting a new LPVO and you're of course looking on the budget side of things, this might be the best one for more of a general purpose role. So, with all of that out of the way, guys, let me know what you think of the Sig MSR 1-6 in the comments down below. And with all of that out of the way, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Merry Christmas and God bless.